Delegates, it is really my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you our president, Mary Lindquist. You're welcome.
Thank you, delegates. Thank you. Delegates, it was in the summer of 1940, as Europe was engulfed in the flames of the Second World War, the newspaper columnist Walter Lippmann gave the keynote speech to the Harvard class of 1910's 30th reunion. Lippmann spoke to brace both his audience and himself for the approaching storm. And here is what he had to say. I think I am speaking for all of you when I say that we have come here in order that we pause for a moment, in which to fortify our faith, to renew our courage, and to make strong our spirit. And when we go away, we shall have realized what ordinary words can scarcely make real to us. We shall realize what it is that is threatened with destruction, what it is that we are called upon to defend. We have come back here to see one another again, and by being together, we shall remember that we are part of a great company. We shall remember that we are not mere individuals, isolated in a tempest, but we are members of a community, that what we have to do, we shall do together, with friends beside us. And their friendliness will quiet our anxieties, and ours will quiet theirs. And as they live up to what we expect of them, we will live up to what they expect of us. And so we shall renew our courage, and we shall find the strength that we shall need. It is doubt and uncertainty of purpose and confusion of values which unnerves men and women. Peace of mind comes only when, having faced the issues clearly and without flinching, they have made their decision and are resolved. Delegates, this is the time for us to face all of the issues clearly and without flinching. This is the time to make our decisions and to leave here tomorrow resolved to defend our values. This is the time to raise our voice and to claim our future. Since we assembled in Tacoma 12 months ago, political and economic turmoil has continued to profoundly impact each of us, professionally and personally. Last year at this time, we called the roll of our colleague affiliates around the country, battered mercilessly by those angry forces. Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Florida, Idaho, New Jersey, and today we add Arizona, Indiana, North Carolina, and even California. My question for you then is simply this. When we call the roll next year, will it include Washington? I ask you again, will we allow the name of Washington to join those other state affiliates being ripped apart by political class warfare? Let me be clear. Let me be clear. We are not immune from these forces. We cannot hide. We cannot run from these forces, and we certainly, in the words of poet Dylan Thomas, we cannot go gently into that good night. Over these past 18 months, many of you have already heard me say, we are not Wisconsin, but we are just one election away from becoming Wisconsin. These are the times of challenge and attack like none other we have ever seen. Last year I warned you that these were different times, That in the past, the challenges we've been confronted with were like a campfire or a stove fire, momentarily burning out of control, but dousing it with a handy bucket of water or using our feet to stomp it out and it was gone. But the last year has shown us that we are truly in the midst of a wildfire that is jumping across the normal fire breaks, moving quickly from one location to another, destructive power consuming all in its path. And let there be no doubt, this is a wildfire fueled and fanned by a small handful of rich, powerful men who do not represent the majorities in our communities. Let there be no doubt. As Leon Casey, a New York union activist, has calculated, of the top 10 names on the Forbes list of the richest Americans, only one is not engaged in active political warfare against public school educators and our unions. NEA reports that Wisconsin's Governor Scott Walker solicits money behind closed doors saying, "Help me kill the unions in my state." And he has raised $25 million with that line. These are powerful private interests with an agenda of corporate and political greed demanding accountability from us while refusing to hold themselves accountable for creating the most unequal distribution of wealth in our country's history. And meanwhile, they profit from an economy that threatens the health and the well-being of hundreds of millions of us and our students. Stan Karp writes in the current issue of Rethinking Schools, "Only in a corporate media culture could a campaign of billionaires to privatize and dismantle, which is what is probably the most inclusive democratic institution we have left, could it be dressed up as a selfless campaign for civil rights?" But friends, please, don't take these attacks to heart. Don't take them personally. Do not for a second believe that they are about you or the work you do every day with our students. We have done nothing to justify these attacks, but it is our very existence that provokes them, because we truly stand for equality and justice, and such values threaten the Scott Walkers and the Walton families of this world. We are all that stands between them and what they want. Privatizing public education is the centerpiece, the grand prize of their overall agenda to dismantle the social safety net and end government responsibility for social needs. As Grover Norquist famously said, they want to shrink government down to the size that they can drown it in a bathtub. 173 days, 4,152 hours. That, colleagues, is how much time we have between today and becoming the next Wisconsin or Ohio or New Jersey or Florida or Arizona or North Carolina or Idaho. Election Day, November 6th, 2012, will be remembered as the day we stopped the fire of corporate greed from consuming our state, or it will be recalled as the first day of a ruthless takeover of public education and privatization of state services. 173 days, 4,152 hours. That's all the time we have. No more, no less. Are you ready to fight for our students? I am too. Are you resolved to fight shoulder to shoulder with our union brothers and sisters? I am. Are you ready to unleash the energy of our members? Are you? Will you join me? Delegates, this is something we simply must do. Let there be no misunderstanding. This is the fight of our lives. This is the fight. For the next 173 days, until that last vote is counted, we cannot choose to opt in or opt out. We are in this fight. We have clear choices. There will be one candidate for governor who makes no move or statement without consulting the right-wing political playbook of those who fund his campaign. He describes our state as an education reform backwater. And he told the Tri-Cities Herald, we have to start paying teachers based upon performance. Publicola has said that he touts charter schools as a magic bullet, which he likened to that boulder in the video game Angry Birds. That tipping, tipping, tipping needs the push of a governor who will sign and enact that legislation. A candidate who refused to accept our invitation to meet with him and who has not since then reached out to us. And then, delegates, there is another candidate, a candidate who is a true son of Washington and the son of a teacher. He is a candidate who has consistently and strongly supported organized labor, defended collective bargaining for educators and other public employees. He is a candidate who first got involved in politics locally, when as a parent, he fought for a bond measure to build a new high school. He remains as committed to education and educators today as he was years ago in his work to build a new school in Sela. He is a candidate who has demonstrated he will confer with us, he will listen to us, and he will advocate for our students. That candidate is Jay Inslee, and he is our candidate. Yes, Jay is with us in this fight, the fight for public good. This is a fight for fundamental values, equal opportunity for all of our students, an end to a system that is too often separate, unequal, and based upon the income of a child's family. We are in this fight for the value of the right of every child to receive a quality education and the right of every school employee to have the resources to provide that child with that quality education. These are the values that are trampled into the dust by robber barons who believe in a trickle-down economics and a manipulated marketplace. And so, colleagues, who better than us to rise again and again to fight for these values? Last night, Tom Ahern reminded us of the fundamental connection between education, democracy, freedom, and social justice. Who else is there in every community across this state? Who else constantly commands the highest respect on any poll on education? Who speaks out again and again for our children and our students? Who cares more for our poorest and most vulnerable students, schools, and neighborhoods? Who else will restore the dignity and respect our professions deserve? Who else will bring together individual voices into a collective force to confront and turn back the robber barons? Who else will organize to make our society more equal and more democratic? It is us. And now we must stand and fight for those who are less able to do so. Colleagues, let me be clear. While December is an important marker, And while we absolutely must prevail in those elections, our fight will not end on Election Day, even when we are victorious. This is a struggle that will continue, and we will have to be ready for the long haul. The Supreme Court has put our state on a 6-year timeline to adequately fund our schools, as Tom Ahern described last night. And so we must be prepared to fight each and every day, each and every legislative session, each and every election between now and 2018 for what is right for our professions and for what is right for our students. We have to build an organization that is stronger, deeper, and more resilient than ever before. And that's why the WEA Board of Directors adopted as our primary goal organizing. We must organize parents to find those who want to work alongside of us to strengthen our schools and to find the funding to provide the resources our students deserve. We must organize with more members, giving more money to our PAC, giving more time to our campaigns, and more effort to build our strong locals. We do not face easy challenges. This is not an easy thing I am asking you to do. But there is one thing we must do at this RA. We simply must pass Constitution and Bylaws Amendment number 2. As you heard last night, we have much to do to shape the public debate over school funding. We have a strong, powerful Supreme Court decision behind us, but that alone will not be enough. Only with this special assessment will we have the resources we need for that work and to sustain this fight until 2018. We are not an association that shies away from a fight because it will be hard. You established that in 2004 when you set us on the course for the News lawsuit. Delegates, look around you. Look at your colleagues. Look at what you do every day. Colleagues, we are fighting for our students, not just for their education, but to build a society for them that is fair and just. Colleagues, that's what Bill Lyon is doing when he spearheaded the effort to create a partnership between Seattle's Low-Income Housing Institute and Western Washington University to create a literacy project to benefit refugees in East Africa. We need to join him in that effort. That's what Arden Watson is doing in Marysville, when, with NEA's help, she reached out with her colleagues to the Tulalip tribal community and determined with those parents what they could do together to close the achievement gap. Will you join her? Colleagues, that's what Debbie Chandler does each and every day at Rogers High School, working to change the conditions in her school knowing that it takes everyone. The attendance secretary, the food service worker, the paraprofessionals, the teacher, the librarian, the counselors. It takes all of us to make a real difference in a school trying to overcome the effects of poverty. We must join her in that effort. Colleagues, Myra Johnson is fighting for professional respect through the National Board Certification and the Professional Educator Standards Board, and we need to join her too. Delegates, we know where the battle lines have been drawn this year. Healthcare, pensions, funding. Who knows where the next battle line will be drawn? But through it all, we will be fighting for the resources for our students, the resources they deserve, and the respect that our professions should warrant. Colleagues, this is not a fight we can win. This is a fight we must win. Let there be no doubt. Let there be no doubt, there will be powerful and prominent voices speaking out against us. These voices will dishonestly use editorial pages, the airwaves, the internet, to suggest that we are putting our union interests above those of children. These powerful voices will make us the scapegoats for those social policies failing both our schools and our children. These critics will see nothing wrong with their constant drumbeat of what is wrong with our schools while turning a blind eye to an ever-growing number of underfunded, unequal school systems and students segregated by the economic status of their parents. And some of these voices will call for education reform from the safety of their corporate ivory towers in downtown Seattle or behind the glass walls of mega complexes in Bellevue and Redmond, all the while sending their children to private institutions. Colleagues, this is not the time for fear. We do not shrink from this fight. It is our voice, our time, our future. We fight with the sure and certain knowledge that we work for the future of our children and our state. We work so every child can succeed and share in the American dream. We work for fully funded classrooms for every child. We work for opportunity and dignity and respect for every student, every educator, and for every working family. We work for an education system from preschool to our college campuses that opens doors for all of our students, not just those of the wealthy and the privileged. We work for smaller class sizes not to make our work easier, but instead to provide each child with the individual attention each needs to succeed. We work to ignite in each child the spark that lights the fire of passion for learning and for growth, no matter their background. We work to create a school system that measures achievement not on the basis of a single test, but through a robust and challenging and well-rounded curriculum. And we work for accountability. We work for accountability because we know what we do every day in our classrooms and our libraries, in our cafeterias and our colleges and at our desks really does make a difference for our students. We work for social justice, for ending a system that callously permits children to come into our schools hungry and undernourished, and then labels their schools as failures. We work for social justice, for ending a system that demands achievement but denies the support our students and our schools need in order to achieve. This is our work, this is our fight, and this is our time. Colleagues, we have but 173 days, 4,152 hours. We need to make every hour count. Our hours must be spent speaking up in every community. Our hours must be spent doorbelling and phoning and taking this fight to the streets of our hometowns and to our neighborhoods and to the parents of the children with whom we work. Not once, but again and again and again, fighting for fairness, for equality, and for social justice. And in those moments when we may feel overwhelmed and we may feel that our cause is lost, let us never forget. Let us never forget. We have one thing our opponents, with all of their millions of dollars, do not have: our reach and our influence into every community in this state. We are 81,600 members strong. We are the ones who stand at the classroom door to greet our students and welcome their parents into our schools. We are the ones who drive our students safely to school each and every day. We are the ones who provide counseling and support to our students and their families. We are the ones who find the extra dollars in our own pockets to provide for a child without a coat or shoes. We are the ones who one day soon, one day very soon, will hold open the doors of our amply funded schools for our students so that they can march forward into the future they really do deserve. Delegates, this is our work. This is our time. This is our future. Last year at this time, I called for a day of action. And as you saw in the video last night, thousands and thousands of WEA members wore red for education on November 28th, our day of action. Thousands of you wore red again and again in Olympia and back home. You stood strong, you stood together. Well, today, I'm calling for another day of action. I am calling for a day of action on Election Day, November 6th, 2012. We are already organizing for this day of action. As you have already heard from Vice President Mike Reagan and our Executive Director, John Okamoto, our House is in good order and our finances are sound. And we are organizing now in every town, in every district, in every building, and on every campus. We are organizing with parents and community groups, strengthening our existing partnerships and forging new relationships. We are organizing as the most powerful, influential political force in this state. And our organizing for this year's Day of Action is focused. We will elect Jay Inslee, the next governor of Washington. And we will retain control of the State House of Representatives. There can be no clearer organizing purpose. For the next 173 days, we will work to achieve these two goals. We are organizing for the over 1 million students in our schools. We are organizing for the 250,830 children in our state who fall below the poverty line. We are organizing for the 108,000 children in our state who still don't have health care insurance. We are organizing for our members with too many students in their classrooms or on their caseloads. We are organizing for our members who cannot afford to send their own children to college. Delegates, elections have consequences. And if we do not organize for our day of action on November 6th, then we doom more children to poverty and abuse, to a life without health insurance or proper nutrition. We doom those students to a life without the kind of education they deserve. And we doom our own professions. At the 30th reunion of the Harvard class of 1910, Walter Lippmann closed his speech with these words: "You had perhaps hoped, as I did when I came here with you, that we would have reached a point in our lives when we could look forward in a few more years to retiring from active responsibility in the heat of the day, and could look forward to withdrawing into the calm of the cooler evening. You know that is not to be. We have not yet earned our right to rest at ease. I like to think that having remembered the past, we shall not falter. Having seen one another again, we shall not flinch. Delegates, there is work to be done. It is our work. Our students, our professions, our colleagues are counting on us. Let us resolve to do that work, starting right now, today. Let us resolve to do that work without faltering or flinching. Thank you.